All right, guys, we're going over the review sheet today. Problems 1 through 4. We want to find the indicated root, the nth root of A. So for number 1, they tell us our root that we're taking is 4, and the number inside is 20,736. So we will have two solutions. We can plug this into the calculator. Figure all that out. So we can say fourth root of 70, not 70, 20,736, which is 12. 12. So we say plus or minus 12, because whenever we take the even root, apply an even root to exactly, number 2 would not have plus or minus because we're taking the ninth root, an odd root of 512. So we're taking the ninth root of 512. So on the calculator we can do 9 second here, 512, and we get 2. So with most of this, I would do it in the 30XS because it's going to be a little bit nicer. You can do them in the graphing calculator because it's math and you have to go through it to get there. Because in the 30XS, we do second in this here. Now, if you do have A and S show up, for number 3, we would change J and S to 14. And the number inside is 16,384. So number 3, the 14th root of 16,384 yes, and we would have plus or minus because we're taking, yep, if we're taking the even root of a number, we're applying an even root to a number, we have plus or minus. If we're applying an odd root, and on number 4, we're taking the fifth root, an odd root of 1024. And the fifth root. All right, guys. Questions on 1 through 4. We good with 1 through 4? Yes. Five through 8. So we can look at number 5, 8 to the negative 2/3. 8 to the negative 2/3 is 1/4. Yes. Number 6 is 1/4 to the negative 5/2. So we can type in 1/4 to the negative 5/2, which is 32. And all these here, you can type them in exactly as we see them. So number 7, 1/9 to the 3/2. So I just grabbed the calculator, parentheses 1/9 to the 3/2. And the last one, parentheses, 16 squared to the negative 1/4 is 1/4. Number 8. So 6 on number 8. So type it in exactly as you see it. Yep, she did. Because to convert it from fraction to decimal, you're going to have to do math, enter, enter. Any other questions on 1 through 8? Because even if it's not letting you type it in, so if we say parentheses 16 squared to the 1/4, because if we said 2 and it won't let us do another fraction, we can always write the fraction as division, so to the 1/2 or 1 divided by 2, or we could just take what it will take and then put it to the next power. Are we good with 5 through 8? Questions on 9 through 12? Yeah, we can type these in, and we type them in exactly as we see them. So we say parentheses, 6, second, nth root, x root, 9, 7, 4, 2, 3, 1. So 9.95658, and 9. I would just use the yellow one. I think for the whole chapter 5, I've mainly been sticking to the 30x's yellow calculator. We've only used the graphing calculator to show a few things, but that was about it. We never actually... 9.9566. Because it wanted it to the 4th decimal place. So 4 decimal places will have 4 decimal numbers. 816 to the 1/9. Parentheses 816 to the, so 2.1063. That's it. Number 11, 2 to the 4/5, 1.7411. And lastly, parentheses, 5th root of 8 to the 8th is 27.8576. Questions on any of those here? Interestingly enough, if it was instead of the 5th root, say the 6th root, might actually get a nice number. So questions on 1 through 12? All right. 13 through 16 is to simplify each expression using the properties of rational exponents. Fix that. Questions on these here? Well, some of them, these here, we want to actually leave it in exponential form. We wouldn't get a decimal, but they're not on the test. I mean, we can if we want. They're not on the test. 17 through 20 aren't going to show up. 21 through 24. No, these are. Which one do we want to look at? 22. Questions on that there? Yeah. Yep. Because if you put this one in the graphing calculator, it's just going to give you a decimal answer. Any other questions on 21 through 24? So are we good with 21 through 24? $25 through 30. Do y'all remember doing these? Yes? This is 5.23. Well, yeah, I would expect you not to remember this. 523? Oh, we didn't do 523. We didn't do 523. No, we didn't have time for it, and I didn't take the time to just start redoing the whole review sheet. So we're not going to cover that. Not going to worry about those. 31. Find f plus g of x, f minus g of x, f times g of x, or f times g of x, and f divided by g of x. So the first one we're going to look at is f plus g of x. So f plus g of x is just f of x plus g of x. And f of x for us is 11x plus 2x squared. And g of x is negative 7x minus 3x squared plus 4. We're just adding these two together. Questions on this so far? Now, since we're adding, we can go on and just drop the parentheses, so we'll have 11x plus 2x squared. Now, plus negative 7x, we can just say minus 7x minus 3x squared plus 4. And now at this point here, we can combine like terms. 2x squared minus 3x squared is negative 1x squared, or negative x squared. 11x minus 7x is plus 4x. And lastly, we have plus 4. So our f plus g of x is negative x squared plus 4x plus 4. Question on this so far? All right, we're a fourth of the way done. Because now we're going to do f minus g of x, which is f of x minus g of x. So we're doing essentially the exact same thing as what we just did with addition, but instead of adding the two, we're going to be subtracting. Now with our subtraction, the first set of parentheses is going to stay the same. It's just going to be 11x plus 2x squared. Now our second set of parentheses, we're going to have to distribute this negative. So our negative 7x is now going to become positive 7x. Our negative 3x squared is now positive 3x squared. And our positive 4 is now negative 4. Questions on this here? Now at this point, we need to combine like terms. 2x squared plus 3x squared is 5x squared. 11x plus 7x is plus 18x. And our constant term, minus 4. Since the first one did not have a constant term, there was nothing to combine with it. So we have f minus g of x. Questions on addition or subtraction so far? We're ready for the next one. Our next one is multiplication, f times g of x, which is just f of x times g of x. Now f of x is 11x plus 2x squared, and g of x is negative 7x minus 3x squared plus 4. Questions on this so far? Yes. Now, once we have this set up, we just need to multiply through. Now, we do need to be careful because neither one of these are written in standard form. So we just need to make just making sure you multiply correctly. Because 11x times negative 7x is going to be negative 77x squared. 11x times negative 3x squared is going to be negative 33x cubed. And 11x times 4 is plus 44x. Now we're going to do the same thing with 2x squared. 2x squared times negative 7 would be negative 14x cubed. 2x squared times negative 3x squared, 2 times negative 3 would be negative 6. X squared times x squared is x to the 4th. And lastly, 2x squared times 4 is plus 8x squared. Now for this one here or any of the others, if you wanted to rewrite them in standard form, when you plugged them in for f and g, you can do that just fine. There's nothing saying that we couldn't have rewritten as f of x is 2x squared plus 11x for all these. Questions on this so far? Now we need to combine like terms. So we'll start with the variable with the biggest exponent, which would be our negative 6x to the 4th. Then we would do our x squared terms. Negative 77x squared plus 8x squared would be negative, well, I got ahead of myself. Because before our x squared, we need our x cubed. Negative 33 minus 14x cubed would be negative 47x cubed. Then we would do negative 77x squared plus 8x squared, which is negative 69x squared. And lastly, we would have plus 44x. And that's our f times g of x.
Cooper Glover, you need to go back to Mrs. Schroth's room. Cooper Glover, you need to go back to Mrs. Schroth's room.
Questions on addition, subtraction, or multiplication before we look at division? So the last thing we have is division. F divided by g of x. f divided by g of x is the same as f of x divided by g of x. And f of x for us is x plus 2x squared. And g of x is negative 7x minus 3x squared plus 4. So we plug those two in. Questions on this so far? That's it. Questions on addition, subtraction, multiplication, or division? We good with these here? Yes. All right. Are you ready for the next one? Yes. 33 through 34. Find f plus g of 2, f minus g of 2, f times. It's not that y'all can't do these. These are more time consuming than they're worth, so I'm not putting those on the test. Composite functions. Do we want to look at 35, 36, 37, or 38? They were 5, 6.
Lily Yang, please come to the office.
Yeah, which one?
Lily Yang, please come to the office.
36, g of f of x. So the first thing we're going to do is plug x into f of x. Well, if I plug x into f of x, we just get the function back. 7x minus 2. Questions on this so far? Now at this point, we're going to plug 7x minus 2 into every x in g of x. So we still have the negative 2, but instead of x, we have 2 plus 5. Now at this point here, we just need to simplify. So we're going to distribute the negative 2. So negative 2 times 7x is going to be negative 14x. Negative 2 times negative 2 plus 4 plus 5, which gives us negative 14x plus 9. And that's it. Questions on this here? 35, 37, or 38. Is there another one of those that we want to look at? Do we feel comfortable with these composite functions? So we'll look at it next, but do we feel good with these here? Yep. Okay. .41, so we're still doing composite functions. If you need the space, I would write it where 33 and 34 are, or on the back, because I need to give a little more room. Now with any of these here, we always work from the inside out. So the first thing we're looking at is g of 3. So we're going to plug 3 into every x in g of x. So it'd be negative 2 times 3 plus 5. Now at this point here, we can do negative 2 times 3 plus 5. We can plug that part in the calculator.
Lily Yang, come to the office.
So negative 2 times 3 plus 5 is negative 1. Questions on this so far? Yeah. So we plugged 3 into g of x and got negative 2 times 3 plus 5. We calculated and got negative 1. Now at this point here, we're going to take f of -1. Now for our f of x, it's 7 times x, so now it's going to be 7 times -1 minus 2. So on the calculator, we can say 7 times -1 minus 2, which is questions on this so far? We good with this so far? Now we're going to take g of -9. So we're just going back and forth plugging these into each function. So it'd be -2 times -9 plus 5. And again, just like before, we're going to plug this into the calculator. -2 times -5, 9 plus 5 is 23. So we have g of f of 23. Next, we're going to take f of 23. Well, f of 23 is 7 times 23 minus 2. Now we need to simplify our 7 times 23 minus 2. 7 times 23 minus 2 is 159. So we have g of 159. Questions on any of this so far? Yep. Yeah, and the last step is to plug this into g of x. So -2 times 159 plus 5. Is -313. And that's our final answer. Yeah, there will be more space. No, having enough of the parentheses after is not a big deal. I'm not going to be really counting those. So any other questions on 35 through 41? Because 39 and 40 are essentially the same thing as what we just did, just a lot less of them. 42 through 43, find the inverse of each function. So the first step is to replace f of x with y. So y equals 7x minus 4. Switch x and y. X is equal to 7y minus 4. Now we get y by itself. So we add 4. So x plus 4 equals 7y. Divide both sides by 7, telling us y is equal to x plus 4. F inverse of x is equal to x plus 4 over 7. Questions on 42? We good with 42? We're ready to look at 43. So, all right, guys, g of x equals 2x cubed minus 7. Our first step would be to replace g of x with equals 2x cubed minus 7. Our next step would be to switch x and y? And yes, then we'd add 7 to both sides, telling us x plus 7 is equal to 2y cubed. Our next step would be 2. Divide by 2. We want to divide because addition, subtraction, do all of that we can first to get y by itself. Then multiplication, division. And if we can't do any of that, then we go to our powers. Because now we have y cubed is equal to x plus 7 over 2. That was y by itself. So we would cube root. And this will tell us that y is equal to cube root of x plus 7. And then we'd rewrite it as g inverse of x is equal to the cubed root of x plus 7 over 2. Now we use g inverse this time because our original function started out as g of x instead of f of x. Again, I'm not going to be too focused on if you have g of x, g inverse, f inverse. I'm going to look more at what the inverse function is. Questions on these here? We're going to finish this up tomorrow.